Alright, MA Marignon, turn 48. I'm recording this after the fact. I'll try not to spoil anything, and we'll definitely have to keep an eye out for replay bugs. Finished research in alteration. Level 6 has some useful things for us, but level 7 is really what we want. Bringing in some siege strength, some patrollers. I'm guessing that this is a lot of teleporting, probably just shifting mages around, as I don't see any magic phase attacks here. We have some remote site searching. Doesn't work out for nature. Then this is death, also doesn't work out. And then finally nature again, doesn't work out. Some of our manual site searching does work out though. An enchanted tower, I think that's just an earth gem, but we do like earth gems. Thunder Oak, air gem, definitely going to be very useful. Not all of our manual site searching works out. And then we did try some assassination. Couldn't resist with that rename. This is, yeah, some vine men. And he's up against just a monkey here. Yeah, and this guy's just a priest. He was leading one of those sacred raiding groups. And yeah, this works out for us. A handful of acorns, probably the cheapest like assassin items, pretty useful. We had a couple other assassins stacked up in the same province, just in case it doesn't work out or didn't work out, but it does, so they don't find anybody extra. And then we have a few battles of our own on attack and defense, and then we also catch some battles between others. This is Vanheim attacking Fascia, if I recall. Things not going so hot for Fascia. Yeah, and just province defense here, although some bodyguards, yeah, I don't know. Bodyguards like on a thug, I've definitely tried it, but I feel like it's not really necessary here, and it kind of actually works against you. You can trigger like some routes, but I do think that this is pretty solid kit, so, you know, these elves I think will have no problem taking out, this looks like some fort province defense. Honestly, you know, Fascia's fort defense, not fantastic, although, you know, these bodyguards at least are like the elven sacreds, and I think it's like Twist Fate on this bless. Yeah, Twist Fate and Blood Surge, pretty solid for these sacreds, so I think in this case works out just fine, but don't really need those bodyguards. Though I am definitely the same way, always trying to, you know, mix some bodyguards in, like see what works. You know, we have one of our armies moving out here, probably into a well of pestilence, so no resistance here, so obviously we are going to take this. And then we get attacked in 2 locations by Bandar, probably those thugs. Okay, no, we have a group of sacreds here. Oh yeah, these seekers of truths. I really, these guys still keep me up at night. Why so many of them? But anyway, we don't have any defense here, just 1 province defense, and so even though this isn't a particularly fearsome group, there's a good amount of blood vengeance to chew through, but and quite a few mages actually. No bodyguards really. Okay, I think this guy is responsible for the Seekers of Truth. I'll have to double check that, but he is a Dominion monster summoner, so he just like summons monsters in the background. I don't even think it's something that you actively need to do, so kind of makes sense. He has all these stacked up. But yeah, pretty heavy investment in terms of mages. Yeah, 13 yogis here who are cheap, but still that's a lot of fort turns. And not much in the way of actual like troops. Don't really count these guys. I mean, I guess they'll get in the way for a little bit. But yeah, definitely a dangerous move, but it does work out for Bandar. And then we get attacked in another location. Yeah, these are the thug group, 2 thugs. That's not good. Let's see, what do we have? Okay, hang on. Now we actually have a solid defense here. So we have 2 of our summons. Yeah, this is some pretty heavy investment. Is there any Grandmasters here? No, it looks like these are just Witch Hunters along with some Paladins. And it does look like the buffs are ending up on the Paladins. These are, yeah, Paladins who have the Moonblades. So, and then there's no shock resistance if I recall on these guys. It's actually a pretty good province defense type too. Not that they're going to do much, but they maybe last a little bit longer. Yeah, unfortunately it is in a cave, although we have Spirit Sight. Yeah, and these ladies have blessed themselves, so they do have Spirit Sight, but it's pretty long range, even though Lightning Bolt is a pretty accurate spell. It still misses. Looks like our Paladins do pretty well in the first round. Yeah, we can see this Paladin has lost his Twist Fate, although interestingly, this guy has not lost his Twist Fate. I'm kind of surprised about that. Yeah, that works out for us really well. Right, the Pretender is dead for Bandar, so the incarnate part of their bless, the Blood Vengeance, is not active right now. I'd forgotten about that. So yeah, everything is going to be a lot easier for us to deal with. And we're probably not going to have to deal with too many more of those thugs, you know, maybe 1 or 2 before this war finishes. But yeah, that's a really good result for us, and really probably one of the scariest things left that Bandar had. And then here we see Ariu taking out, yeah, just some trogs. A lot of crossbowmen. Quite a few sacreds here as well. No gem usage though, so that's nice, I think. Oh no, there is a little bit of gem usage, yeah. Trogs are kind of scary, you know. I've lost quite a bit to them before, so you know that's fair enough. Always a little sad when you're using gems on independence, but I think yeah, they're absolutely going to tear these trogs apart. Certainly, I use plenty of gems on independence, and in terms of losses, like that works out for them pretty well. And then there's also a battle against Jotunheim. Yeah, and this is just a kind of probably a standard thug. Yeah, very standard kitting. No reinvigoration if I recall, so that could be a bit of a problem, but probably won't be. Guessing that this witch doctor is just being foreign recruited here. I don't think this is an effort to catch this thug, and probably not going to make much of a difference. Yeah, mist form. Let's see, blessing probably. No blessing yet. Bark skin. So good thing there's no fire mages here, although that's not very likely against Jotunheim. No bless at all. Although yeah, this elf doesn't need it. Like really, it's the vine shield. You probably could just get away with only a vine shield, but the frost brand definitely makes things more likely, especially when you're up against this looks like 20 province defense. Kind of an odd PD type to dump, but you know, you never know. Could have been in due to a previous war, you know, where they were actually supporting it. Sometimes you just need bodies. And so yeah, here we have a raiding group from Phaecia. This looks kind of cool. Just a storm captain with some bodyguards, no kit, no gems. No, not sacred. There's only one PD though, so I do think this is going to work out. Yeah, just going to be doing some lightning bolt casting. Maybe trying to catch a thug. Actually, no, they're on the offensive here. But still, this would probably be a decent thing to try to catch a thug, depending on how much shock resistance. Yeah, there's no shock resistance on this Vanheim's Bless. So yeah, I think this will work out for him. And yeah, no losses there. I do like those light infantry for Phaecia, but I mean, you know, they're just regular scales troop. Nothing too crazy to write home about. And then here we have one of our raiding groups. This looks like 3 witch hunters. No bodyguards, kind of on the risky side. Looks like we're going to be popping out some fire elementals. And there's nothing here though. No province defense, just some retreats. Oh, you know what? This is the place where we assassinated. So yeah, there's no leadership. So a little less risky than I thought. Probably is just what we had available to try to take the province. Although even 1 PD would have provided some leadership, would have made that battle a little more dangerous for us. And then here we have Agartha attacking Jotunheim. Yeah, in Jotunheim. And it's a pretty scary one. A ton of these very durable sacreds out in front. A lot of Mind Blasters, the Magma Children. Solid caster support. Probably going to be doing, you know, Strength of Giants, Legions of Steel, stuff like that. Yeah, not a lot of gem usage, which is pretty nice. You know, you maybe might argue that like this much investment does warrant like a little bit of gem expenditure, though they may just not have the spells ready yet. But it does mean that it gets to fight without, you know, bleeding out your gems every turn, unlike most of my armies. But yeah, this definitely looks like a team colored squares sort of situation. And this is a situation where I think dual colored team squares actually makes things worse. So they're a little close, but hopefully it'll be clear enough. Jotunheim has a suitably glorious final defense here in their capital. A lot of summoned undead. They get to summon the giant undead, which is pretty nice. A ton of their sacreds, who are already blessed because their pretender is here. Regeneration, shock resistance. The regen is going to be very nice. It's a shame they don't have any fire resistance, although we are in the cold, so that'll help a little bit. These guys also have pretty high protection because of the ice protection and because it's cold. Let's see if we can find any gems out here. Yeah, the pretender's got quite a few gems, possibly mass protection, though that would be a bit dangerous with all this fire magic and fire stuff. Also some air gems, possibly fog warriors, depending on where the research is at. Otherwise, not too many gems, a smattering of nature gems here and there on this side. And, you know, without further ado, let's take a look at what's going down. So we have Relief coming up, and that is from Jotunheim's Pretender, so perhaps expecting a fatigue play. Pretty massive Communion going up on Utgard's side. That does look like, yeah, mass protection. I think this might be a mistake, right? These guys were at protection 22, now they're at protection 24. Is the additional 2 protection worth susceptibility to fire? I don't think so in this case. So that's a bit unfortunate for Jotunheim. That does look like Fog Warriors, though. Yeah, Fog Warriors should help quite a bit, although these guys may have magic weapons on the Bless. Gartha, that is. Oh, actually, what am I saying? They already have it built in. They don't need it on the Bless. Speaking of the Bless, a lot of this is not going to be relevant, but the cold resistance, that's going to be pretty relevant for these sacreds, so that should help significantly. The Magma Children are probably going to be slower, I'm guessing. Yeah, the cold does slow them down, similar to Fire Elementals. And yeah, we have some creeping doom here, so there are some bugs coming out. I gotta believe that's coming from Jotunheim's side. Yeah, my blasters are going to be a bit of a problem. Jotunheim does get the rock throwers, which is actually pretty significant because these guys do not run out of ammunition, and those rocks hurt a lot. And it is looking like things will probably jam up in the gates. We have Grip of Winter coming out from Jotunheim, so fatigue play there along with Rigor Mortis. So a full fatigue play, I think that's going to be pretty effective. And of course they have relief up. So yeah, I think this is a situation where Agartha would have been worth spending the gems. Like, you know, probably I spend a little too much on a lot of my battles, but for, you know, a battle like this, I think definitely worth, you know, spending the gems. Like, whatever you need to do to counter what you're expecting. I think this is going to be a pretty rough battle for Agartha. Like, we'll see. We'll also try to speed this up just a little bit. Yeah, we have some Legions of Steel, probably Strength of Giants, you know, like I said, the gemless sort of things. And then, yeah, the Magma Children definitely going to hurt, although it looks like it's mostly skeletons that have gotten out in front here, some of which were pre-summoned. So, you know, it's always sad to be losing death gems like that. And, you know, I do think that the fire weakness is going to hurt them a lot, but the Sacreds with the regeneration probably will survive. And yeah, I think this is going to work out in Jotunheim's favor. We can see that even on the Sacreds who have cold resistance, so they're more or less unaffected by Grip of Winter, they're still going to be affected by Rigor Mortis, and a lot of them, the fatigue is starting to stack pretty high. For the Magma Children, like, this is even rougher. Like, yeah, probably most of them are asleep now because they do not have cold resistance. Although it does look like Agartha here was saying they weren't spending any gems. That looks like an Army of Gold. Yeah, Army of Gold. So these Magma kids do have 20 protection, but no cold resistance. So they're going to be getting hit by both of the fatigue plays. And of course the skeletons, they don't care about, you know, any of the fatigue, right? They're not going to get fatigued, at least the inanimate ones. And like, yeah, otherwise, the wall guys probably will fatigue out eventually, but again, relief is going to help them a lot. They're also not in melee, so that helps significantly. Some of Agartha's casters maybe are still awake, but you know, they're pretty close to sleep. The Mind Blasters looks like they've mostly run out of ammunition, so they're moving forward to get into melee, but that's not going to work out for them. Let's see if we can speed this up. Yeah, maybe just be careful about sprawling around. I do think this is going to take a while, which is often the case with fatigue plays. You know, I will say, having tried a few fatigue plays myself since this turn has rolled, doing a fatigue play on the defense is kind of terrifying because if the battle times out and you rout off, right, any routes from the defenders in a siege defense, they die. So this is kind of an all or nothing play, and you know, you do need to make sure that you can kill the entire enemy army right before the timer runs out, which can be a challenge. Because especially for something like Rigor Mortis, that affects both sides. Grip of Winter technically does as well, but considering that the undead have really high cold resistance, and I'm assuming these Sacreds do as well, yeah, they got 25 cold resistance, so they're not going to care about that. But, you know, Rigor Mortis can put them to sleep. So that is pretty dangerous, but, you know, with relief up and all the skeletons, I do think this is going to work out for them just fine. This is a brutal loss for Agartha, and I don't think Jotunheim really, you know, spent all that much. Definitely some gems, but like, yeah, in terms of units, they did lose a significant number of like long dead, but that's not that hard to replace, and you know, some Sacreds. But considering what they killed, like, this is a great trade. So even though Jotunheim's down to it, they're certainly not out. They, you know, have some mages left and quite a few Sacreds, so, you know, they could still fight for quite some time, and we'll keep an eye on that. We have some unexpected events. A group of trolls have emerged, so they're attacking our laboratory, which hopefully they can't actually destroy that. And then we have some brigands show up. Does look like we lose this fight, I'm guessing, based on the flag color. Which makes sense. I don't think we have a whole lot there. Let's see. Yeah, we had a Dominion switch. That's a bit sad, especially on our border, but we'll figure it out. Tax collection went unexpectedly well. That's very nice. And we find just a couple of gems. Hey, you know, it's misfortune. We can't complain too much. Only misfortune 2 this game, which is nice. Yeah, that's a lot of trolls. So, ooh, we have some stuff here. I don't know why we have stuff here, but yeah, this isn't good. Oh man, earth boots, earth gems. I don't know what was going on here. I guess maybe we were expecting the thugs, but I don't really foresee this working out. I don't even know. Maws of the Earth. Yeah, that's not a terrible choice. Maybe gifts from heaven. He probably fatigued himself out. We do, have some, yeah, the mage doesn't get away. The bodyguards do. That is painful. I don't know why that guy was out there, but, we lose some earth boots. That's probably the most significant thing. And we have a bunch of trolls we have to deal with. We lose a scout somewhere in Yissa's territory. We finish upgrading Mictlan. Next step should be a citadel, so hopefully we'll start that soon. And then, yeah, we're trying to grab that one province from Tianqi. But we still have not cracked this fort, so yeah, we'll see about that one. And it does look like we moved on top of one of Bandar's forts. Yeah, severely damaged, so we should crack that, probably storm it as well, or issue the storm order next turn. And I will catch you guys after the jump. Alright, this is the situation and what we did about it. So we're sitting on top of Bandar's fort here. We'll hopefully crack it next turn, although we are moving out a significant chunk of units. If I recall, I think originally this was 2 armies at one point. So we do kind of have some extra troops here, even though a lot of them are diseased now. We'll be moving out a bunch of crossbowmen and a good chunk of knights. With very minimal mage support, maybe should have committed more mages to this. Anti-magic, I do think a relevant choice. There was a communion there. Flaming arrows would be nice, and, solar eclipse, but yeah, frankly, we don't really need it based off the troops that were here. And there isn't really anything troop-wise that can reinforce them, so it's possible that we run into a massive province defense dump. But I think even then, we have enough troops, and, the Soul Slay is probably the most dangerous element. I don't recall what's inside this fort, but with the Bless being down, I do think that this war is pretty much over, at least very close to over. There is some risk of the god being recalled. But yeah, Bandar's actually in a bit of a rough spot there because they have a lot of sacred mages, but most of their mages are not actually priests. So unless they've been recruiting a bunch of just their, priest ones, their holy ones, it's going to be pretty difficult for them to recall their pretender. So I think we will be able to close out this war before they're able to do that. Otherwise, we're continuing to try to push scouts a bit deeper into Asphodel's territory to see what's going on there. Continuing to keep an eye on the Fascia-Vanheim war, but it just really isn't looking good for Fascia right now. They have a couple of their forts locked down now, and most of their territory, is gone, although, at least their capital is unlocked for the moment. I don't think Vanheim has taken much, if any, infrastructure yet. But yeah, it's not looking good for them. We are, of course, pretty worried about Yis. They have a decent amount of siege strength just hanging out here. Not too much in the way of mages. We also took a look at their capital. Unfortunately, you can't see any glamored units with scrying, even if you have spirit sight on the person doing the scrying. So there could be a bunch of sacreds here, and we can't really tell how many of their cap-only mages are here. But there's at least not a ton of mundane units. So that's probably good, and they are hopefully busy with underwater things. Xibalba is, on the way out, but their capital hasn't been cracked yet, so it's going to keep Phlegra busy for at least, 1 or 2 more turns, 3 turns, 4 turns, maybe. We are, of course, also fairly worried about Phlegra. There's a lot of scouts appearing on our border. We're trying to push some scouts in to see what they've got going on. Otherwise, kind of just pushing around like site searchers, the trolls. We don't have plans to deal with them just yet. Nothing in motion. It's a lot of trolls, so we'll have to put something together. Probably just throw some fire elementals at the problem and call it a day. And of course, we have this Tianqi fort that we're trying to finish off, that we're trying to crack. We're getting to the point where we have a lot of units here, so this kind of looks pretty impressive from a troop standpoint, but mage situation still not fantastic. We do have solar eclipse and flaming arrows here, but otherwise perhaps a little light. And this other Tianqi fort has been cracked. There are a ton of units here for Shinyama, so we'll probably see a storm there next turn. And probably the only other thing of note is our pretender is bringing in a Lamia Queen, so hopefully we get a nice roll on the path access there. And I think that more or less covers turn 48.